call it savvy consumers, where consumers are very much outspending, but they're being really careful about what they buy. They're still looking for value, particularly when it comes to more of the necessities. And they're looking for the things that really matter for them. And they'll be more willing to accept higher pricing and kind of splurge a bit. So it really will depend on what the item is that they're buying and therefore how much they're willing to accommodate some of the potential price pressures.
How promotional are retailers this season? And is it working with consumers?
Yeah, there's of course still a promotional period. We saw it during the Black Friday. I would call it during Black Friday, but even the days around Black Friday. So if you focus specifically on Black Friday, which is probably still peak promotion, we saw retail sales ex autos up 4.1% on the year, with this particularly strong spend, nearly 10% in terms of e-commerce spending on that day. So there was a concentration. There still was this acceleration into Black Friday. And now when we look at the full season, we're still tracking just above 4% year over year if we start the season on November 1st and we're looking at it through early December.
What's the outlook for 2026, Michelle? There's presumably some fiscal stimulus coming into the marketplace in 2026.
Of course. So when we look at global growth, we're forecasting 3.1% global GDP growth. We're on track for about 3.2% this year. So not that different, a little bit of a moderation. Particular to the U.S., we're looking for some acceleration. So coming in at about 2.2% real GDP growth next year. And there's a few themes that I think are going to be very supportive. One of which you've just mentioned, there will be some fiscal stimulus. There will continue to be AI investment. Frankly, I think it'll be AI adoption, right. Potentially even a bigger story, particularly when it comes to businesses and consumers. And then I think we also will see the support from continued easy financial conditions. The Federal Reserve is on track to continue to cut. I think the data that was just out this morning is very much supportive of continued monetary easing. And you have consumers that have managed to navigate incredibly uncertain times in the last year. And now in 2026, It should feel a bit more settled.
I look, Michelle, at where we are and where we're going. I just noticed a YouTube video that we have, Michelle Meyer on YouTube Worldwide right now. We never show cardboard boxes. What's the Amazon impact right now? We love to show retail stores and pictures of Labubu dolls being sold and, all the stuff. And what's Amazon doing with cardboard boxes? How's that affecting Mastercard?
Well, I think to your point, we should be focusing on e-commerce. We should be focusing on the digitalization of the retail space because it has been tremendous and it has resulted in a number of dynamics. One is that consumers have a lot more choice. There's been a lot more price discovery. Consumers can utilize technology like AI to optimize their purchases to make sure they're getting the right product, the right time for the right price. And that is really, really important for consumers to maintain their ability to navigate, again, what has been some rocky times is that they have greater access to information. And they therefore have greater power in terms of how they spend and how they deploy their purchasing power. The other factor that I do think is also very important when you think about e-commerce is that it has also generated an environment for more business creation, right? We are looking at small business creation very actively with our own unique data. And one of the things that really stands out is the increase in small businesses. It's been really driven by e-commerce players, omnichannel, but primarily e-commerce. That is quite important when you think about the trajectory for the economy from here.
AI, how's that impacting how I shop, how John Tucker shops? How's that working out?
Well, I can tell you how it impacts how I shop.
Michelle, I don't shop.
Okay. Well, then I can't speak to you. But for me personally, I mean, certainly when I'm looking for gifts, I will immediately turn to my friend, my AI buddy, and ask for suggestions. Give a characteristic of an individual you're buying a purchase for. What do they like? What are some good stores to look at? Where are we seeing some of the best promotions? It helps. It's an incredible research tool.
Okay, well, the combine at Mastercard Economics is extraordinary on this. Let's rip up the script here, folks, right now with Michelle. She's never not shopping Meyer. And Michelle, I totally agree with you in that somebody in the house will say we need blah, blah, blah. and I go to my given AI choice, type in just like you say, and it's shocking the information they give back. Where do they get those choices?
Well, that is a conversation for probably a different expert than me in terms of how the AI machine works. But I can tell you what the consumer does with that information is they will use that and explore, right? They'll type it in, they'll go to the stores, they'll search online, and they'll learn. It reduces what we like to talk about in economics, asymmetric information, where in the past, a consumer would walk into a store, they would see the item, and they would take the price because it was really hard to understand why that was priced the way it was. Today, you have that information.
I mean, I know you had a Roomba years ago.
Yeah.
And they just declared bankruptcy. Michelle Meyer had 2 or 3, I think, in her house.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the Roomba.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. But Michelle, should Paul and I just look for fewer storefronts over the next 5 years? Is digital and AI take over?
Well, here's the interesting thing, which is I think it's a reinvention of the storefront. There's still the desire to have experiences. It's just changed. So you're going to still have the experience of walking into stores. You may then just take out your device and purchase the item that you find at the store for, again, a different price, more quickly, different size, whatever it may be. And I think there's also a lot more experiential activities at stores, right? If you go to the mall, I was there with my kids this weekend. They played golf at the simulator while I popped into stores.